As you know, we have reopened Mrs. Myrtle Wilson's case because we have new evidence that leads us to believe that Mr. J. Gatsby was not driving the car at the time of Mrs. Wilson's death, and you are one of our prime suspects.
Me? For whatever reason. I'm innocent and had nothing to do with her murder.
Let me be the judge of that. So what were you doing on the day of Mrs. Myrtle Wilson's death?
Well, my husband, Tom Buchanan, and I had invited Mr. Gatsby and my cousin, Nick Carraway, to lunch earlier that day.
So, was it just the four of you attending?
No, my best friend Jordan Baker was there as well.
So what happened during your gathering?
Well, everything was going just fine, and we were having a wonderful time, but it was such a hot day out, and I suggested that we go into the city and get some drinks.
So, how did you all get to New York?
My husband suggested that he drive Mr. Gatsby's car and that Mr. Gatsby drive his car.
So what kind of cars were they?
Well, you should know, investigator. Both of the cars were different cars. Mr. Gatsby's was yellow. I believe he mentioned it was custom, and my Tom's was deep blue.
Witnesses say that two vehicles that match your description were riding recklessly. Is that true, Mrs. Buchanan?
I would say so, yes. We didn't have anyone then.
Where did you guys go in New York?
We went to a hotel. I believe it was the Plaza Hotel. We booked ourselves a suite.
So what happened when you guys arrived at the hotel?
We were sitting in the suite. We had a conversation about our wedding. But my husband started questioning Gatsby about his past. It turned into an argument.
What were they arguing about?
Our relationship.
Your relationship with who?
Jay. Jay and I had first met in Louisville when he was an officer at Cape Taylor. We became very close, very quickly, but then he left to go to war. He was away for so long without a letter, I had thought he was dead. By the time I received a letter from Jay, it was too late, and I was engaged to Tom.
So what was your relationship with Mr. Gatsby at that time?
I fell in love with Jay once again. I never meant for it to happen, it just simply did.
I see. So back to the argument. What happened then?
Tom had accused Gatsby of selling alcohol and other ways of getting his money. See, Jay was very poor when we had first met, and Tom was unsure of the ways that he had suddenly become so wealthy.
Were there any physical attacks?
Jay had knocked a few things over and had his fist clenched, but he never hit anyone.
Do you recall what happened after this incident?
We went home.
We believe that you and Mr. Gatsby were in the same car when Mrs. Myrtle Wilson died. Can you please confirm that information?
Yes, Tom had sent us home from the party early.
And that would account for the fact that there was only one car at the time of the crime.
Yes, everyone else had stayed home, but they followed not too long after.
Did you guys leave in the same cars as you arrived in?
No.
Did you leave in the yellow Duesenberg?
Yes.
Witnesses claim that they saw a yellow vehicle speeding through recklessly. Was that the yellow vehicle you were seated in?
It's not like Mr. Gatsby's the only one in the world to have a yellow car. It could have been anyone's car.
It's been confirmed that it's Mr. Gatsby's car. Now, Mrs. Buchanan, do you think Mr. George Wilson shot Mr. J. Gatsby because he believed he was the one who was behind Mrs. Myrtle Wilson's death?
Criminals must be punished for their crimes, correct, investigator?
That was not the question.
Fine. Yes. It was his car. He was the murderer. Simple as that.
But he was not the one driving the car. No, and as a matter of fact, you were the only other person in the car, so it must have been you.
That's ridiculous.
You're responsible for the death of Mrs. Myrtle Wilson, Mr. J. Gatsby, and Mr. George Wilson due to your own inability to take responsibility for your own reckless driving. Mrs. Buchanan, you are under arrest.
You know what? I don't have time for this.
What is this? Wait, Mrs. Buchanan!
What? Not enough for you? That was more than your whole life.